Jersey's own Zach Gelb.
Or maybe it's Pennsylvania. Anyhow, it's one of the two, I'm pretty sure.
The Zach Gelb Show continues
On Fox Sports 920, The Jersey.
Welcome back in. Time in the Princeton Orthopedic Associates Studios, 4:15. We're getting ready for the semifinal in the college football playoff. Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl tomorrow night. Washington and Alabama, the Crimson Tide looking for another national championship, and then the Fiesta Bowl later on before we welcome in the new year between Ohio State and Clemson. And now joining us in Atlanta right now with the Crimson Tide is the voice of Alabama football, and that is Eli Gold, who's kind enough to give us a few minutes right now on the Zach Gelb Show. Eli, I appreciate the time. Happy New Year, and how are you?
I am well, Zach. Good to be on with you today. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming on with us on what is a very busy day for you. This Alabama run, it's almost unbelievable because every year now the expectation is for Alabama to win the national championship. And if they were to lose in the semifinals or even in the finals, it feels as if it is a disappointment. You've been along for every snap of the Nick Saban era. Just what is it like to watch this excellence each and every Saturday?
Well, it's an honor to be able to watch it. It's remarkable, though. You're right. It really is. If you read on a piece of paper that a team in this day and age had won 4 national championships in 7 years and was playing for their 5th in 8 years, you'd be sure it was a typographical error because we know how tough it is to win one, let alone go on this kind of a run. But, it's a great team, outstanding coaching staff, and, of course, Nick Saban loves to recruit, and that's the lifeblood of any collegiate program. So, it's all coming together, and it starts again tomorrow afternoon with the bid for yet another postseason title.
Saban is 65, and we know the grind of being a head football coach in college. And I know Alabama could recruit whoever they want just based off their name and their recent success and the history of that program. How much longer do you think Saban wants to do this? Because he is 65, and do you believe in any of the rumors that he still maybe has some aspirations of going back and giving it another try in the NFL?
None whatsoever. No belief in any of those rumors. He is not an NFL coach anymore. He didn't like it necessarily. He loves to be able to mold young players into men and into productive citizens, let alone great football players. What folks don't understand is that not only is Tuscaloosa home for him and his wife, Terry, but they love it so much. He moved his mother to Birmingham, Alabama. The kids live in Birmingham. His grandchild lives in Birmingham. They're not going anywhere. But he also is a young 65 years old. He's in great shape, great health as far as, his condition is concerned. He loves what he does, so he's not going anywhere, and he is in no rush to step down as Alabama's head coach.
Get into the game coming up tomorrow, and many people expect Alabama to have a pretty easy time against Washington, but we all know how lethal that Washington defense can be. What does Jalen Hurts need to do to limit the turnovers against Washington?
Well, obviously he needs to get great protection and to take his time. He doesn't need to rush things. The people down here in our neck of the woods in the Deep South, and for that matter, folks up in your area of the country, up in the northeastern quadrant there, those who think this is not going to be a tough game are grievously mistaken. And the reason people say that, Zach, is because, like I said, in this area of the country and up where you are, we don't see Washington much. We don't see their games much. If it's on, it starts at 10 o'clock at night or 10:30 at night. And a lot of folks are already done for the day and they've turned their TV off. A lot of people, if it's out of sight, it's out of mind, and that's wrong. This Washington team is very, very good. But, Jalen Hurts can beat you, both running and passing, but he's got to take his time. This is a kid, who at this time a year ago was going to his prom, and now he's playing in the national semifinals. So, it's been quite the whirlwind year for him, but, he's good. He has God-given talent. He has that special something that is truly God-given, And he's just got to take his time, not force the issue, hang on to the football, and he should be fine.
Eli Gold with us, the voice of Alabama football right now on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920, the Jersey. You take a look at Washington's offense. That may be an offense that a lot of people, just because of how late their game's on, like we're talking about, aren't able to appreciate the quarterback and running back for that Washington team. Just how about what you've been able to see on film so far about Jake Browning and Myles Gaskin?
Well, they're the real deal. They're very, very good. The key, however, and this is not an Einstein-like statement here, and this is good for most any ball game, the key is how much time and operation room they have. You got to win the battle in the trenches. And I personally believe, just because I've seen them all year, and I've only seen Washington on a couple of occasions on tape, I believe that Alabama's defensive front, and their front seven for that matter, will be able to control the line of scrimmage. And that's going to be a key to the ball game. The game that Washington lost to Southern Cal, Browning was pressured fairly significantly. And even in the game that they beat Colorado for the Pac-12 championship, Browning was pressured significantly, and they had to try the run because he was like 9 of 24 passing or something like that. And I don't know how much you can run against Alabama, which is a team that has given up 2 yards a game, 2 yards per carry to the opposition. They only give up 60 yards a ball game on the ground. So it's a very, very stingy defense. So I think that's going to be the key. Keep those guys bottled up by putting lots of pressure on them by the Alabama D.
I think it's the biggest key in the game. You're absolutely right, and you're right. You don't need a PhD in football to evaluate the battle in the trenches, and you take a look at Alabama, just under 3.5 sacks per game this year that they get to the quarterback, and Washington, I think they're just under allowing 2 sacks per game this year. And you talk about Alabama, and you look at Alabama on this run that they've been on, and if you're the opposition, I wonder how much pressure there is on this game. And if Alabama gets after the quarterback early, would they be able to adapt to just this lethal defensive front that we've seen all year long and for many years? So where's the confidence of this Washington team just being in that area this week leading up to the game?
Well, I'm guessing it's probably fairly high because there are people who are saying they don't have a chance. They shouldn't, it's over before it starts, which I don't agree with, for the record. It's going to be a tough ball game. But when you have nothing to lose, what the heck? Go out, play ball, play wide open, do the best you can. If you lose, well, everybody says you're going to lose. And if you win, well, we've just shown the world that you don't know what the heck you're talking about. So I think the pressure is on Alabama at 13-0, having run the table in the very difficult SEC West and then these other non-conference games. I think the pressure is on Bama to play well. Washington, nobody expects them to play well or to at least win. I think they'll play very well personally, but nobody expects them to win the ball game. So there's no pressure there. Go out, have fun, see what the heck happens, use some of Coach Peterson's trick plays, and, there's no pressure in that.
Eli, we just saw that Lane Kiffin got that job at FAU, and a lot's been made about that relationship between Nick Saban and Lane Kiffin. How do you describe that relationship?
Very respectful between two gentlemen who know that they are both very, very good at what they do. Lane Kiffin is an offensive genius. Coach Saban knows that. Lane also knows how great of a coach and a motivator and an organizer Nick Saban is. They have gotten along wonderfully. People always blow up the fact that, as Coach Saban and Lane have said, there have been a couple of ass chewings, as he puts it. But, that happens among coaches over the course of 3 years. Fact is, the offensive numbers have been staggering. And as an offensive coordinator, he's taken his team to 3 straight berths in the postseason playoffs, which no other school has done. So it's a very respectful relationship. And that's what they don't necessarily have to hang out together. Like you said earlier, Nick Saban's in his mid-60s, Lane's in his 40s, whatever. They don't necessarily have the same sphere of friends. They don't have to go out to dinner together, but they get along just fine, and they get along respectfully and work very well together.
Taking a look ahead into the future here in Philadelphia with the Eagles, they need a lot of offensive linemen and cornerbacks for the future with how the current roster is set up right now. Two names I've been reading about a lot have been Cam Robinson and Marlon Humphrey. What can you tell us about those two players and how they project in the NFL?
Well, both are very, very good. A lot of people are saying that Cam Robinson is a surefire first-round pick. Marlon Humphrey has developed very nicely. He's, had his issues here and there, but he's worked through them. When I say issues, I mean on the field, improving, that kind of stuff, nothing off the field. He's a very, very good ball player. This Alabama team, has a ton of future NFL stars on it. But those two guys, if you get them, you wouldn't be doing wrong. But certainly Cam Robinson on that left side of the offensive line, he's been a stalwart, man. He's the real deal.
And then up the turnpike with the Giants, Landon Collins has just been an absolute stud this year. How much do you still pay attention to those Alabama players that go to the NFL?
Well, I do NFL games on Sundays on the radio. I do the National Football League for Sports USA, which is along with Westwood One, one of the two syndicators of NFL games. So I follow it very, very closely. I'm thrilled to see those guys doing well. And you're right, Landon, with the back-to-back Player of the Week honors and so on, he's been one of the big bright spots for the Giants defensively. This weekend, my game is Nashville and Houston, and I get to see, obviously, some defensive players plus Derrick Henry. So it's really wonderful. It's a lot of fun to be able to see these guys as they play at the next level. But no, I keep very, very close tabs on the league because of my work on Sundays.
Gotcha. Eli Gold with us, wrapping up with the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Just taking a look ahead to that other playoff game later in the evening on Saturday, Clemson and Ohio State. Give me a thought about that game between those two powerhouses in college football?
Well, my thought is Clemson is very, very good. And I think Deshaun Watson seems to have a chip on his shoulder in a positive way. This is not a negative comment. He has a chip on his shoulder. He wants to show people that he feels he should have won the Heisman, that he could well be the best player in college football today. I think Clemson is a very dangerous team to be meeting right now. Ohio State's outstanding. And the next bet I make on a sporting event will be my first. I don't bet on sporting events. But if I was held to the fire and had to put $2 on somebody's nose, I would take Deshaun Watson and Clemson in this one. But, certainly Ohio State's a darn good ball club. But Watson, he makes chicken salad out of chicken droppings. You know what I'm saying?
He's a heck of a player.
He is. Some of the best plays they have this year and last year came at the end of broken plays when he made something good out of something bad. And when you've got that ability playing for you, you're dangerous. So I think Clemson might win the ball game, but Ohio State is obviously a spectacular ball club as well.
Now, I would love to see Alabama and Clemson round 2. I think it'd be a really good game this year, just like it was last year. Eli, before we let you run, I just got to get 2 more college football information from you just because of your long history in the game. You're in SEC country, to say the least. Temple football here in Pennsylvania just got a new head football coach in Geoff Collins, the defensive coordinator of Florida. You've been able to see that Florida defense the last 2 years, and also with Jeff's other stops. What about Geoff Collins can you tell us?
Well, that's been a strong point for the Gators. I mean, a lot of the problems that they have had have been offensive. They have not necessarily put a ton of points on the board. They've had quarterbacking changes and so on. But defensively, that has carried that franchise over the last couple of years. So, you don't think they're good, just ask the LSU Tigers how good that defense was. So you're getting a very, very good man right there. It all comes down to the players, though. You can have all the, you can tell Eli Gold what you're supposed to do on a given play, but, I don't have the ability to pull it off. Even though I can be taught so well, I don't have the ability to pull it off. You got to have the players to do that. And I must say, I'm not, there's improvements that can be made all across the board on a lot of teams. But as far as the man telling you how to do it, you got a good coach coming in.
And then last one before we let Eli Gold go, let's get to the granddaddy of them all. You have Penn State and USC, two programs that are playing hot football at the right time. Just how about that matchup with two pretty prestigious programs?
Well, it's great to see them playing one another. I've seen Southern Cal twice this year, and in both instances I saw them, play well in one game and not so well in the other. I saw them on tape beat Washington, and I saw them in person lose early, week one, to Alabama. I still think, though, with their quarterbacking having changed, Darnold doing very well, I might tend to pull in their direction, plus it'll be in their home state with possibly a bigger crowd pulling for them. But it's going to be a great game, and you're right. There's nothing like two major intersectional teams who aren't necessarily rivals because they don't play each other that much. But there's something special when you get those two franchises on the gridiron together.
Eli, I appreciate the time. Happy New Year, and enjoy the broadcast tomorrow.
Thanks, Zach. Take care of yourself.